Hi, welcome to this video, and in this video I'm actually going to measure the caffeine and the total antioxidants in coffee, but this also applies to coffee and tea. What I'll do is something slightly unusual. I've got some Red Bull here, which if I compare the signals to that which I will get in coffee versus Red Bull, you'll be able to see that actually coffee, which is a more I want to say complex sample, because actually it does have these antioxidants in it, gives you a very different signal. So what I have in front of me, and I'll just go and skip to it, is I have the FoodSense Duration 4. I'll take what's extensively a caffeine sensor. I'll record the caffeine signal for this. In the first instance, I'll do coffee. I'll record the caffeine signal, but then I'll also analyze or look at the data in a bit more detail, and you'll actually see that we do have a total antioxidants signal as well. So I've got the sensor in there. I've got my little vial to remind me what we're doing. What I'll do now is I'm going to take coffee, which I will reach out for. So I've got some coffee here, and I will take 50 microliters of this coffee, put that down. I'll put the sample in here, put the sample in here, which I have done. I'll just get a clean pipette. I'm just going to grab 50 microliters of the proprietary buffer. So there's a buffer that comes with the kit. I'm just going to grab 50 microliters of that buffer, which I will do like that. So we've got them mixed up together now. Right, and just before I do that, I'm just going to set the app so I know where the data is. So what I'll do is I'll go coffee 101, just to so we can find that easily. Right, okay. So I'm all set up. So I've got sensor in the FoodSense Generation 4. I've got a 1-to-1 mixture between the coffee and the buffer. I'll put 50 microliters onto that sensor now, which I am doing. I'll go continue, start, and this is in Bluetooth connection with the FoodSense Generation 4. So I get this big absorption here, not absorption, but big signal here. And this is actually the total antioxidants in that coffee. And then we get a second peak here, and that's actually the caffeine. You can actually see that they're quite similar concentration. So now I get a result on my phone. So the result I get on my phone is 0.143 milligrams per gram. So if you want to know what the total caffeine in that coffee was, you would take that concentration, milligrams per gram. You know, if the coffee cup, for example, had a volume of 240 mils, you would just take this number times it by 240 mils. But anyway, that's the concentration of caffeine in this particular coffee. Now, what I want to do is just show you something in the signal. So I'm just going to change my screen for a second. I'll come up here and just show you. If I come here, I'm just going to put the word demo in here, and what this now does is every time we run a sample on the FoodSense Generation 4, the data goes straight up to the cloud. So I can find my instrument here, which is great. I'll find Coffee 101, which is what I'm looking for. And when the raw signal was coming in real time on my phone, I could see a first sort of peak, and then I saw a second peak. And so that's what I see here now. I see this first peak, and I also see this second peak here as well. Now what it is we're analyzing the second peak, and we turn that into milligrams per gram. But there's also a first peak here as well. It's broad and it's double. So there's actually a few molecules in there. There's 2 or more molecules actually in that signal. But let me now contrast that with let me contrast it now with Red Bull. So I'm just going to grab some Red Bull very quickly. I'm just going to put the sample in like that, which I have done. I'm just going to put the sensor in. So I'll just put a fresh sensor in. Now don't forget, this is Red Bull. So let me just do that. So I'm going to put the Red Bull, I'm going to put the sensor in, which I've done. I'm just going to grab a clean vial. I'm just going to grab some Red Bull. Now don't forget, Red Bull is I don't want to say synthetic, but it's kind of got some sort of caffeine extract in it. but it doesn't have that sort of dark color that coffee does. So it's sort of, in some ways, you could sort of describe it as a sort of, I don't want to say cleaner, but less organic molecules present, which is not super surprising. And those organic molecules are often the antioxidants. Now what I'm doing now is I'm just mixing up very quickly. I'm putting the sample on here, which I've done. Now what I'm doing is I'm just going to name this so that we can find it. I'll just put RB for Red Bull, and off we go. Right, so it's running in real time now. So I'll put that down like that. Now we don't get the same intense first sort of double peak, but we do get the intense, when we hear, in fact, here it comes now. We do get the caffeine peak, but look how big that caffeine peak is relative to the first peak. See how small those peaks are? So you start to understand actually a big difference between Red Bull and now what I'll do is I'm just going to share my screen for a second. I'll go here and I will go, let's have a quick look at the Red Bull peak. So Red Bull, if we look at the signal, now, you know, I sort of say it's a synthetic sample, it has less antioxidants in it. And when we look here, you'll see it in the raw signal. See, so very flat, and then we have our caffeine peak. Now, if we come back and we look at the coffee, the dark color is already a sort of is an indicator of let's say antioxidants. Now it's an indicator. It's, you know, it doesn't always tell you how many antioxidants are in there, but you can see that's actually a much broader first peak and then the caffeine peak. And when we do the analysis, you can see it, that big broad double peak, and then that peak there. And then if I just go back for one last look at the Red Bull, which I will do now, you will see that in fact when we do the analysis, it's much flatter, and in fact it's much flatter, and we do get a caffeine peak. So I'm just going to do that very quickly, and then so there we go. So what you see now is a very flat, then the caffeine peak, but not that indicative antioxidant peak. So the FoodSense Generation 4 is primarily for detecting caffeine, and it does it on Red Bull, and I did it on coffee in this case. But with these sort of more complex samples like coffee and tea, you can also see the antioxidants as well. If you've got any questions about FoodSense Generation 4, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Okay, thanks very much.